The Clone Wars, spanning 3 tumultuous years, marked one of the most devastating periods in galactic history. A conflict initiated by the manipulative machinations of Darth Sidious, who operated from the shadows under his dual identities of Chancellor Palpatine and Sith Lord. The war became a stage for some of the bloodiest and most brutal battles ever witnessed in the galaxy. The galactic population suffered immensely as countless lives, both civilian and military, were lost in the chaos that consumed countless star systems. The conflict was sparked by the secession of the Confederacy of Independent Systems CS, led by Count Dooku. Dooku, a fallen Jedi and apprentice to Darth Sidious, utilized the vast resources of the corporate titans like the Trade Federation, Techno Union, and Banking Clan to construct an enormous droid army. Opposing this formidable force was the Galactic Republic, whose defenders were the newly created clone army of Jango Fett's genetic template, grown and trained by the cloners of Kamino. These clone troopers, though bred for war, were individuals with their own experiences and sacrifices, many of which were highlighted in the bloodiest engagements of the war. The war's intensity was not confined to single planets but engulfed entire sectors. One of the earliest catastrophic battles was the First Battle of Geonosis. When Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi uncovered the droid factory on Geonosis, it led to a full-scale invasion by the Republic. Over 200 Jedi, accompanied by a contingent of clone troopers, launched an assault on the planet. The arena confrontation where Jedi fought for their lives against overwhelming droid numbers epitomized the sheer ferocity of this battle. Thousands of clones died within hours as waves of battle droids overwhelmed the Republic forces. Although the Republic claimed victory and the Separatist leadership retreated, the high death toll on both sides signaled the carnage that would define the Clone Wars. As the war progressed, battles became even more catastrophic. The Battle of Ryloth was another grim reminder of the toll the conflict exacted. The Twi'lek homeworld, a vital strategic location for the Republic, fell under Sia's occupation early in the war. Countless Twi'leks suffered under the oppression of the droid armies, with entire villages obliterated by separatist bombings. When the Republic launched their counteroffensive, led by Jedi Generals Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker, the fighting escalated into sheer brutality. The Separatists' blockade in orbit cut off vital supplies, causing widespread famine among the civilian population. On the surface, the clones fought inch by inch against a seemingly endless onslaught of droids. The liberation of Ryloth eventually succeeded, but the cost was staggering, with entire battalions wiped out in the effort. Elsewhere, the planet Umbara became the site of one of the most infamous campaigns of the war. Known as the Shadow World, Umbara's perpetual darkness and hostile terrain made it a nightmare for the clones tasked with taking it. Led by Jedi General Pong Krell, a controversial and brutal tactician, the 501st Legion engaged in relentless combat against the Umbarans, who wielded advanced technology and guerrilla tactics. Krell's strategy relied on overwhelming force, often leading to senseless casualties among his own men. His disdain for clones and refusal to adapt his approach resulted in catastrophic losses. At one point, his orders led to clones unknowingly attacking their own comrades, mistaking them for enemy forces. The trauma of this friendly fire incident, combined with Krell's betrayal and eventual revelation as a Sith sympathizer, marked Umbara as one of the bloodiest campaigns, leaving deep scars on the 501st and their leader, Anakin Skywalker. The devastation was not limited to ground engagements. In space, the Battle of Coruscant became one of the most iconic and deadly clashes of the war. This battle, taking place near the war's end, was a desperate bid by the Separatists to capture the Republic's capital and kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. Led by General Grievous, the CS deployed an enormous fleet, including massive capital ships and their fearsome flagship, the Invisible Hand. The Republic, commanded by Jedi such as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, scrambled to defend Coruscant from annihilation. The skies above the city planet turned into a maelstrom of destruction, with starfighters weaving between the colossal warships as turbolaser fire illuminated the atmosphere. Civilian casualties were staggering, as debris from the orbital battle rained down onto Coruscant's surface. The battle culminated in a daring mission by Anakin and Obi-Wan to rescue Palpatine from the clutches of Count Dooku, resulting in the latter's death. While the Republic emerged victorious, the sheer scale of the destruction underscored the war's catastrophic impact. Another harrowing battle took place on Felucia. a lush jungle world of immense strategic importance due to its agricultural resources. The Republic's efforts to secure the planet led to multiple campaigns, each bloodier than the last. The dense foliage and hostile wildlife made Felucia a death trap for both clones and droids, with soldiers often falling victim to ambushes and environmental hazards. Jedi such as Aayla Secura led the charge, but even their extraordinary abilities could not prevent the high casualties sustained by the Republic forces. Felucia became a testament to the futility of many Clone Wars battles, with lives sacrificed for control of a single planet, only for it to change hands repeatedly over the course of the conflict. On Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld, the war reached another peak of carnage. The Battle of Kashyyyk occurred late in the war, when the Siege launched an invasion to subjugate the planet's Wookiee population. Known for their strength and loyalty, the Wookiees became key allies to the Republic, with their warriors fighting alongside clone troopers to repel the separatist forces. Under the leadership of Jedi Master Yoda, the Republic mounted a fierce defense. The dense forests and swampy terrain became a brutal battleground, with casualties piling up as both sides struggled to gain the upper hand. Despite the eventual Republic victory, the battle was tainted by the looming execution of Order 66, which turned the clones against their Jedi commanders. Kashyyyk became a microcosm of the Clone Wars. Tragedy, alliances shattered, and trust betrayed amid the overwhelming tide of violence. Throughout the war, sieges became a common and devastating strategy employed by both sides. The Siege of Mandalore was one of the most infamous examples. Although Mandalore was officially neutral in the conflict, it became embroiled in the chaos due to the rise of the renegade Sith Lord Maul and his criminal syndicate, the Shadow Collective. Maul's occupation of Mandalore plunged the planet into civil war, with Republic forces eventually intervening to depose him. The siege culminated in an apocalyptic confrontation in the capital city of Sundari, where former Jedi Ahsoka Tano faced off against Maul in a duel that mirrored the larger war. The city was left in ruins, its population devastated by the unrelenting violence. The Siege of Mandalore, though technically a Republic victory, left the planet in chaos, paving the way for the Empire's eventual domination. The atrocities of the Clone Wars were not limited to the battlefield. War crimes committed by both sides further exacerbated the suffering of countless worlds. On planets like Jabium, the Republic's scorched earth tactics led to widespread destruction, alienating the local population and driving many to side with the separatists. Conversely, the Sith's use of superweapons, such as the Malevolence, a massive ion cannon-equipped warship, resulted in the annihilation of entire fleets and the deaths of thousands of soldiers. These actions underscored the moral degradation of both factions, as the line between heroism and villainy blurred in the face of such relentless carnage. Despite the Republic's ultimate victory, the Clone Wars' legacy was one of devastation and loss. The war left entire sectors depopulated, economies ruined, and cultures extinguished. For the clone troopers, bred solely for combat, the war was both their purpose and their curse, as they were discarded by the very Republic they fought to protect once the conflict ended. For the Jedi, the war marked the beginning of their extinction, as their role as generals in the conflict made them targets of Palpatine's grand plan to eradicate them. The bloodiest battles of the Clone Wars were not merely physical confrontations, but moral and emotional struggles that reshaped the galaxy. They highlighted the ultimate futility of a war orchestrated from the shadows, where every victory was hollow and every loss a prelude to greater suffering. The Clone Wars did not simply end, they transformed into the Galactic Empire's reign, with the scars of its battles serving as a grim reminder of the price of power and manipulation. The aftermath of the Clone Wars' bloodiest battles reverberated across the galaxy, with their devastating consequences setting the stage for the rise of the Galactic Empire and the dark times that followed. The toll of these battles was not only measured in lives lost, but also in the erosion of ideals, trust, and the very fabric of the galaxy's democratic systems. The clone troopers, Jedi, and countless civilians who suffered through the horrors of war bore the scars, physical, emotional, and political, of a conflict that was engineered to manipulate and destroy. The Battle of Megiddo exemplified the brutal cost of war. Megiddo, a frigid and desolate world rich in resources, became a focal point of the Republic's campaign to sever the Separatists' financial strongholds. The battle was spearheaded by Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, who commanded the elite Galactic Marines alongside Clone Commander Bakara. The fighting on Megiddo was grueling, with the Republic's forces struggling to advance across the planet's icy terrain, which was fortified with massive separatist defensive emplacements. The sheer scale of the devastation was immense, as entire cityscapes were reduced to rubble by heavy artillery fire and aerial bombardments. Despite achieving their objective of securing Megiddo's financial assets, the cost was staggering. Thousands of clone troopers perished in the process, and the planet's population was left to endure the aftermath of war on a ravaged world. On the volcanic planet of Mustafar, the climactic battle between Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi became symbolic of the personal and galactic tragedies spawned by the Clone Wars. While this duel was not a traditional battle involving armies, its significance lay in its representation of the conflict's underlying betrayal and manipulation. Anakin, once the Republic's greatest champion, succumbed to the dark side, becoming Darth Vader. His duel with Obi-Wan, set against the hellish backdrop of Mustafar's lava rivers, reflected the destruction of the Jedi Order and the collapse of the Republic's ideals. Though Obi-Wan emerged victorious, the emotional toll of facing his fallen apprentice and friend was profound, leaving him and the galaxy forever changed. The Siege of Saleucami was another grim chapter in the Clone Wars. This battle was part of the Republic's Outer Rim sieges, a final push to bring the Separatist strongholds under control. Saleucami, a planet with harsh deserts and scattered oases, became a prolonged battlefield as the Republic sought to eliminate a droid production facility hidden beneath the surface. The clones, supported by Jedi such as Stas Ally and Oppo Rancisis, faced relentless resistance from the Separatists, who utilized advanced cloning technology to bolster their forces. The siege dragged on for months, with casualties mounting on both sides. By the time the Republic emerged victorious, Saleucami was left a barren wasteland, its ecosystems devastated, and its inhabitants displaced or annihilated. One of the most catastrophic naval engagements of the war was the Battle of Sullust. This strategic industrial hub, located in the galaxy's coreward regions, was critical to both the Republic and the Separatists. The battle saw fleets of unprecedented size clashing in orbit, with Star Destroyers and Separatist battleships unleashing devastating barrages upon one another. Amidst the chaos, the Republic deployed experimental starfighters, while the Separatists relied on swarms of droid fighters to overwhelm their opponents. The fighting in Sullust's orbit was so intense that the planet's upper atmosphere was scarred by falling debris, causing environmental havoc on the surface. Thousands of pilots and crew members lost their lives in the carnage, while the civilians of Sullust suffered under relentless bombardment and resource depletion. The horrors of the Clone Wars extended even to remote worlds like Christophsis. This crystalline planet, with its towering spires of reflective rock, became the site of a pivotal battle early in the war. The Separatists sought to establish control over Christophsis to cut off Republic supply lines, prompting a desperate counteroffensive led by Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The battle was marked by brutal urban warfare, with clones and droids clashing in the narrow streets and alleys of Christophsis's capital. The introduction of Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano added a new dynamic to the conflict, as her presence and quick thinking turned the tide of several engagements. Despite the Republic's eventual victory, the battle's high cost foreshadowed the grim pattern of attrition that would define the war. The Battle of Dathomir highlighted the war's tendency to engulf even neutral parties in its destructive path. The planet, home to the enigmatic Night Sisters and their dark magic, became a battlefield when General Grievous launched an assault to eliminate the Night Sisters, who had become a thorn in the Separatists' side. The Republic played no part in this battle. Instead, it was a personal vendetta carried out by Grievous under orders from Count Dooku. The Night Sisters, led by Mother Talzin and Asajj Ventress, fought valiantly against the droid forces, employing their sorcery and guerrilla tactics to devastating effect. However, the overwhelming numbers of the droid army eventually proved too much. By the battle's end, the Night Sisters were nearly wiped out, their once thriving culture reduced to scattered survivors. This battle demonstrated the war's indiscriminate nature, where even those unaffiliated with either side could be obliterated by its reach. Despite the Republic's many tactical victories, the shadow of betrayal loomed over every success. This culminated in the execution of Order 66, the most infamous event of the Clone Wars. Issued by Chancellor Palpatine, Order 66 branded the Jedi as traitors and ordered the clones to execute them without hesitation. What followed was a galaxy-wide massacre as clone troopers turned on their Jedi generals. Battles that had once been fought side by side became sudden betrayals, with Jedi struck down by the very soldiers they had fought to protect. On planets like Felucia, Kashyyyk, and Mygeeto, the execution of Order 66 transformed active battlefields into sites of treachery and sorrow. The death toll among the Jedi was catastrophic, reducing their once mighty order to a handful of survivors. The bloodiest battles of the Clone Wars ultimately served the dark designs of Darth Sidious, who had orchestrated the conflict to consolidate power. The war's true purpose was not to resolve the galaxy's divisions but to create them, sowing chaos and distrust that would allow Sidious to establish the Galactic Empire unchallenged. For the galaxy's inhabitants, the Clone Wars were a tragedy of epic proportions, a conflict that claimed billions of lives and left an indelible mark on history. Entire generations were shaped by the trauma of war, and its echoes would continue to be felt long after the last blaster bolt was fired. In the end, the Clone Wars were not merely a clash of armies or ideologies, but a testament to the destructive potential of manipulation and greed. The galaxy's descent into chaos and tyranny was paved with the blood of those who fought and died in battles they believed were for freedom and justice. The true legacy of the Clone Wars lies not in its victories or defeats, but in the lessons of its suffering, a grim reminder of the cost of war and the fragile nature of peace.